Hello and welcome to Flory Models, live with you on Tuesday afternoon on the 5th of May 2020. Groundhog Day, here we are again. John's got an A50. You going to build it?
Yeah, I thought I'd knock that out this afternoon.
I think so. Have you got a load of like pipe cleaning, plumbing type stuff for all the tubes and resin bits in there and all the rest of it?
Yeah.
I have to say, it is very nice when we saw that when you got that one in. Definitely one of those ones. Anyway, good afternoon everybody. We trust you're all doing very well, still in lockdown mode and everything. A couple little housekeeping things. First of all, welcome to all the new people who've joined the Flory family over the last few weeks. It's great to have you, obviously being part of our little corner of the internet, shall we say. But can we say we do use our real names because we are real people. We don't hide behind, you know, forum names or game tags or anything else like that. We literally use our real names. The reason for that basically is it's easier to talk to each other, for one. Secondly, you can't hide behind anything, so it stops all the idiots. Thirdly, we do tend to do a lot of live stuff, so obviously it's a lot easier just saying John, Nathan, Andy, Matt than it is trying to use somebody's unname. And then that way, if you suddenly start using your real name, people don't know who you are because you're not in the forum under that name either. So there was a couple of reasons whilst we've done it. We've been doing it now for literally the last 20 years and it's all worked very well right up to now. So if you do join us, please use your real name. If you want us to change it, just shoot me a message via the PM on the actual private message on the forum and I'll change it over for you. It's not a problem. It's only because, to be honest with you, today I finished off doing the MIG-SIG reveal video and obviously some of you are just under like Tom and other things, and it's like Tom who, you know. So at the moment it says Tom question mark and various things because again it's not your name, and I've been taking them from the site, from the forum onto that one as well. So as easy as that. The other thing as well just to mention is don't forget we have no political, definitely no political, no religion, nothing at all chat type things on the forum. It only causes arguments, and to be honest we don't do any of that. And to be honest, you can go anywhere, Facebook, YouTube, to talk to people all about those types of things. Obviously we are a modelling site, so we don't tend to have any of that on there whatsoever. It's just the simple rules. Literally it's only the two rules we actually have: no negative comments and nothing religious or political or anything else chat like that at all on there. And it just makes life a lot easier, don't you think, guys?
Mm-hmm. It does.
So it does.
Worked well for the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's worked fantastically for the last 10 years, no problem at all. So obviously as we have grown up, we've had quite an influx, as you might imagine, over the last few weeks of new members who probably just don't read the rules, which, to be honest, I don't either. You just sign up for these things and away you go. But it does actually say in the rules about real name only, and then obviously we do say about no political, no, you know, basically anything else like that. No religious type things, apart from Christmas, because that's religious, but you know, that one we allow, and that's about it. But anyway, I have been finishing off the MiG one. I've got a couple of final little touches to do to it, which I'll probably finish off tonight, and that one will be up with you on Friday. So I've done it already. We've already moved everybody's areas over as well. So obviously all your builds have been moved into the various categories to carry on with your work for the people who didn't finish, like Andy, who I noticed. John, yours looks very nice, and Nathan, yours looks very nice in the actual build. But yes, Andy didn't make it, so unfortunately he doesn't count. I was going to put a blank square with a question mark, like Andy Molyneux at the end, but I decided not to pop that down.
He was last night, wasn't he?
He was trying to cheat and not put any of the stencil decals on it at all.
Right, just a couple of stars, was it? And that was going to be it.
Yeah.
Yes, that doesn't count. Keep him there, but it's too late now anyway because it's done. Anyway, up with you is this, which I thought we could talk about today because it is quite an interesting subject, to say the least. As you can see, it's there as well next to me. This is obviously the review for the Zvezda Mi-24 hind, crocodile, alligator, whatever you want to call it, and how disappointed I was. If you've seen the review already, you'll know that I wasn't actually impressed. There's a couple of reasons for me not being impressed. One is generally the lack of detail, that it's got the same detail, and John's just confirmed with me as well, having both of us built the Zvezda 72nd hinds. It's just it's all the same data, just been upscaled into that particular version, which is a real shame because it had so much potential to have a 1/48 scale hind helicopter, and for it to turn around now and just be just the same as the 72nd is a little bit disappointing. And seeing as this is your kit, John.
I mean, it's still going to be
Yeah.
the most accurate one on the market.
Yeah.
Well, it's only got the monogram one to compare with, but
Yeah.
you know, it's still all there. It's just it could have done with a few finer details, couldn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I suppose from my point of view, the two things, like I said in the review, that is really disappointing is just the surface detail isn't all there. But we know there's a lot of aftermarket coming along for it. And to be honest with you, I probably like a lot of you have seen that gorgeous colour printed resin photo etch-esque, I know it's not because it's resin, cockpit detailed set, and it's designed specifically for this particular kit, and it looks amazing, don't get me wrong, but my part is there's nothing in there apart from some decals for the actual cockpit. So unless you're going down that route or a colour photo etch set, it's almost horrendously bad. So why didn't they include that with the kit? Because that would have made the kit. If they'd done like a photo etch set that comes with it, then fair enough. If they'd done this resin photo etchy stuff, it comes with it, fair enough. That would have actually made perfect sense. But seeing as you don't get any cockpit detail whatsoever, it's just flat surfaces everywhere, I think that's a nasty thing. And as I say, I've reviewed a few kits in the past that have driven me mad because they seem to have deliberately left out parts so you go down the aftermarket route. And to me, you know, if you're going to do a kit, at least make the effort. So that annoyed me to it. And then secondly is just that surface detail. Say, probably a lot of you have been around Heinz and know them as well. They are very agricultural, being Russian. It's heavy duty stuff. It's like big rivets on them and stuff like that. And for it not to have it, it's wrong. It should have it. And okay, yes, you could re-rivet it and you can add all this detail and you will turn it into, and there will be some amazing models done of this, I have no doubt of that whatsoever. It's just that for Zvezda could have really stamped their mark on this hobby. They could have literally come along and said, this is what we do, we're at the pinnacle of it right now, we've taken the time, we're bringing you out what is Russian as well. So if let's face it, if anyone's got, you know, information on it, it's going to be them. And I think they've really just dropped the ball. It could have been, because we've been well, John's built loads of them, a lot of their little 70-second Stegale MiGs, haven't you, John?
Yeah. Yeah.
They are great, aren't they?
Yeah, I must admit, alarm bells started ringing when I saw the retail price of it. For a 48 scale kit of a big old lump. Yes. It does seem, you know, compared to other similar kits, it did seem a bit cheap. But to have no cockpit detail at all other than decals is inexcusable really nowadays. Yeah. In a 48 scale kit.
No, I must admit, it was just one of those ones where, because as I say, John's built it as well, and we spoke briefly just before we came on air, and like, it was that thing, when you're looking at it, it's just the same as the 70-second one, and don't get me wrong, the 70-second one is perfect, it's a beautiful kit, and it's the finest Hind that you'll find out there, but then to upscale it and to make it no different, it's almost taking the piss somewhat, I felt. So, and again, the reason I'm so mad with it is because I'm disappointed, because I was really hoping to have something just that little bit special, and Zvezda to really say, because for years I've been telling people how good Zvezda is, and obviously their MiGs, their, you know, Sukhois, the things, their vehicles are some of the best ones you ever see. Their Ural trucks and stuff like that are amazing detail, and they are usually good value for money. You know, at the end of the day, they just feel like they've dropped the ball, and that's what's really annoyed me with it. So it's still brilliant. Go out and get one, because if you're going to do a Hind, you're going to do it, and no one else is going to do one for eons. So it is going to be the definitive one. So for everybody who's gone out or got one ordered or planning on getting one, I'm not saying don't get it. I'm just saying be prepared that you're probably going to want to spend a bit of money on some aftermarket for it, just to make it usable, you know, and stuff. And you might want to just take a little bit of time, perhaps do some riveting work on it and various bits and pieces, just to get that surface detail to where you want it. But apart from that, it's still very nice, and I'm sure it'll go together beautifully, because if it's anything, as I say, like the 70-second one, it just falls together. It's really nice. And again, you've got all that gorgeous engine detail at the top, which is what I did to mine in 35th scale, little bit of wiring into it, and you can really bring it alive as well. So there's no ejector pins in anywhere that's going to be seen if it's all undone as well, so that's a nice touch. So yeah,
it'll go together really well, but
yeah.
You say it's just from where Zvezda have been going recently, it's just a little bit of a backward step by them, really, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't think even it's really backwards. I think it's just sidestepped. It's almost
Yeah.
like they had, technically a great item, and they've just sort of fumbled it a little bit, And it's like to do something as iconic as a hind, and there was quite a buzz about it when they first said they was coming out with a 48 scale hind, and everyone was hoping it was going to be as good as the 72nd. Don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of us were hoping, obviously, it'd be a bit better because it's a bigger scale, and you've almost just got an upscale version. Which, as we know, it's not technically right. You can't just on their system go up by whatever it is % and press print, and out comes one bigger. But obviously, they've used all the same data to make that one, and they haven't improved on that data.
Do you think maybe in their thinking and planning, they're thinking Edward reboxings?
Absolutely, perhaps. And again, it makes perfect sense because, as we know, Edard do some really nice stuff in there, so, and I imagine they are, as we know, bringing out some very, very nice stuff for it as well. But again, it's just one of those, just a little bit disappointed. Go off and have a look at the review and make your own mind up. And I'd love to get your feedback as well to see what you think about it. Am I talking rubbish, or have I got a point? Always nice to know. Anyway, the other thing I've been up to as well, as you might notice, the kebab is back with me and painted. So we've started doing this colour. If I just show you quickly on the overhead, probably need the big overhead here. So yes, the kebab stick is now painted white. This is my off-white, my starship colour I call it. So it's got that nice sort of flat white job to it. And as you can see, we got this one. Obviously got the other engines to go on, but it's all been painted in my sort of off-white, which again probably looks quite white on this, but trust me, it's not. And we've got the antenna array is all painted and done, sort of sat in situ. And of course, we've got the smiley face Pac-Man, which is probably better that way. Still think he looks like a cartoon character. But yes, so anyway, he's literally painted and done. So this is colour 1, as I call it. So this is the first of the proper colour. So what happens is I make another white, but it'll be a darker shade of white, not getting into the greys yet, still going to be an off-white, and then that gets sort of modulated here, there and everywhere all the way over it, so it's just a rough spray job literally just to break it up. And then after that we will be going in then picking out individual panels and areas and things like that which are different colours, and then obviously at some point I've still got to tackle painting all of the actual pods, because the cargo pods are over there, and I've got to spray them individually as well before they go on here, because obviously, as we know, weathering, as I've proven when I looked at it here, is very difficult to weather in between, so I'm not going to risk it. So we'll spray them each individually, then we'll mount them up onto this, and then we'll go for overalls afterwards and all the rest of it. So that's coming along really nicely. So the next part of that will be up with you obviously on Friday as we make our way through with that one. The other thing as well, today I've done the review for the VC10, which got me thinking, because obviously a few of you were asking me questions about some of the stuff you saw around my table, because some of them were solid resin, some of them were obviously the film props I make, and some of the other stuff was toys I spoke about, and a few of you picked up about my blaster that I had, which obviously is just a resin fake film prop type version, and how we make that one. So the review which will be up for you tomorrow is the VC10. It basically talks about how you go into buying a kit eyes wide open, as in with this we was expecting a little bit more, with that I'm expecting a little bit less, because it's truly awful on every scale. And some of you guys were asking about different kits and things, the difference between a limited run, I can't remember what I said now, what is it? It's a limited run kit, a short run kit, obviously a garage kit, and a normal one. So I've got a few little ones down here to show. So this would be what I call a normal kit, which is very good, works fantastically, no problem at all. You can build it straight out of the box and you're not really going to have any problems. All right, so that would be your sort of pinnacle of a great kit. Then you move into your sort of what I call short run kit, which is something like this. So if I can just borrow the overhead, guys, just to show. Okay, so in here, you've seen probably the review of this. With special hobby kits, you tend to find that, you know, you can see down on here, there's no locating tabs to anything. You also, because the injection moulding, you can probably see it down in here, as you can see, they're always on the blind side, so you don't get any in detail. You've got these huge ejector pins and various things. So this is what we call a short run kit, but they make up for lack of detail in their injection moulding with usually something like this. So in here we've got a bucket full of resin. So the resin parts are more detailed. They can add a ton of detail to your model. So where it is lacking in perhaps some of this you might just think is a little bit plain and there's not a lot going on, it makes up for it because you've got tons of it down in here. Okay, so this was what I would call a short run, limited run type kit, just like that. Then you've got technically two types of garage kit. So this is what I would call a high quality type garage kit. So this is my studio scale X-Wing, which is literally just comes in these, and these are what a lot of my film prop things and stuff are made out of. And again, you've got various parts that are made up, and they do usually come quite nicely, and it's a really good start. So this type of stuff, you know, although it's quite crude, once you get it together, you can sort of go through the motions of putting it in, and this is what I call a high quality kit. And again, you'll pay quite a premium for these things, and they only usually come out every couple of years. That a run will be made of so many of them. But anyway, this is the studio scale X-Wing with the various bits for mounting it for studio work and stuff like that. Okay, so you've got something like that, which again, really nice. You normally get quite good instructions with it as well, but you could put it together with, I don't know, medium skills, shall we say. Then you get something what I call is your homemade garage kit like this. Now this is how all my sort of props come to me. Okay, they are, can you guess what it is yet? Rough and ready, and I build quite a few of these, and this is literally how they turn up. So again, they're quite rough in their construction, and you can see you've got big old seam lines, and to be honest, this isn't a bad one. Yes, it's Chewy's bowcaster, if you are wondering, and you can see you've got all the starting off bits, and you've got it, but some of the parts are quite rough, and you sometimes get, like here, we've got a little bit of metal work, which is, well, you know, rough, and we've got clear bits for various things, you know. And again, once you've cleaned these up, and that's why I've got a belt sander, they're not too bad at all. Just remember your things, but you do get, you know, quite chunky bits of flash and stuff like that. But these you can put together, they're fun because you can chuck them together in an afternoon and then spend a little bit more time doing the painting and the weathering. But I've made, as I say, blasters with it, and lightsabers and thermal detonators and all these things with those. And again, some of them can be as rough as you like, and they come in, you know, your boxes like this, and you've got, you know, various things, and you're not even quite sure how it all goes, and some of them look like pipe, and sometimes they are PVC pipe and stuff, and you can make up various things from it. Okay, and again, get points for knowing which ones these are. Some of them is, say, you've got to dig out and carve and sort out and stuff, but they're always a lot of fun to do. Okay, and that's the thing. At the end of the day, depending on your painting and weathering, will depend on your skills involved with these. Is that your order come through?
I think that's my Amazon fellas here.
But it is depending on your skills, and we were talking yesterday and the day before about basic modelling skills. To be honest with you, all of them is, you just need to get those basic ones down packed, and then when you get into this one, which is obviously the one we're talking about, this is your sort of eyes wide open job in here. So as you can see, we saw this one the other day, it's very, very rough and ready. And again, when you look at the close-up with it, you can see the review of this tomorrow in detail, but you can see all the parts are there and they're generally okay, but they are a little bit rough and ready. And some of mine, this is a classic, we've got cracks in my wings and various things I need to sort out and go through. But again, it's a start. See, we've got a nasty crack run right the way through the wing. But it's a start, and it's, you sort of make these things work and go through with them. But again, I think it's one of those areas where take your time. Doesn't matter which one of those ones it is, if you just take your time and work through it methodically with your basic skills, you should be absolutely fine with it, you know. So again, I wouldn't worry too much about what you're working with once you've got your basic skills, and it's just those basic skills which I think home over time, get used to it, but just enjoy it. Don't you think, John? Seeing as you got two classics there.
Yes. Got the A model A50, which actually for A model isn't that bad.
I think that's the best one I've ever seen.
I got this the same time as Matt got the Bison, and
Yeah.
I know which one I'd rather have.
You lucked out there. So
It's, yeah, it's got like a resin fiberglass fuselage, and the rest is all injection molded.
yeah,
But it's very nice. And then I've got this little beauty, which is a limited run resin kit, a 1/32 Yak 23 floor. And again, I bought this off of Matthew, and it is rather nice for a resin kit.
yeah. And again, the thing is, if it's a solid resin kit like it, depending on the manufacturer, some are better than others. Alicat used to do some absolutely fantastic resin stuff. I built a few of their bits now, and they do go together really, really nicely. It's just that some other ones can be a little bit rough, shall we say, over time. You know, some manufacturers still shoehorning out old resin kits from dodgy molds.
You just have to, like you say, be realistic with your expectations.
Yeah,
And most of the time with a short run or limited run kit, it's going to be the only version of that, whatever it is. So if you want a particular thing, you've got no other choice really.
no. And also, one thing to explain with resin stuff, I cast resin as well. Not tons of it, but I can show you what happens to resin molds over time. So, okay, a couple of classic examples here. So, if I just show you on the overhead here, you can see the molds don't last forever. This one's about a year old, so it's a bit of a rubber one here. And they start to go a bit crispy. Literally, they lose their elasticity, and the trouble is when they start to lose their elasticity, they start to literally disintegrate, and this one down here starts to break down. So we've lost the chunk out the middle, but also you can see down here it's starting to pull bits off. So depending on the manufacturer and how good they are, they might start using old molds which are starting to disintegrate and fall apart, and with every part you end up with bits of rubber stuck onto your resin from when they pulled it, and that's always a clue to know it's starting to disintegrate and trying to give up. But again, you can get beautiful details like these have got fantastic detail on them and work really, really well. But again, if you've bought one that's in the early days of the mold, you have no problem at all. You get one that's been around a long time and somebody's using an old stiff mold that's not coming out particularly well, you can end up with, if you're the guy who gets that, you wouldn't be impressed. So that's the thing to it, but it goes off like cheese, as you can see, over time. They don't last. So what you need is a good molder or manufacturer who does replace and takes brand new castings and then goes through them and stuff like that. Go on, John, show us it.
Well, yeah, just Tim asked why they're using like a fiberglass resin.
Yeah,
that's the reason why.
It's huge.
It's a huge fuselage on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to, it's all nicely sealed up, so I'm not going to unwrap it yet, but it comes as one hole as well. So basically you've got an injection molded front end goes on there.
Yeah.
And the wings and everything are injection molded. But this compared to Matt's Bison is, well, it's like a Tamiya kit really. But it's just the sheer size of it and the weight of it. If that was solid resin, that would weigh an absolute ton. Bear in mind there's a great big radome that's got to go on top as well.
And it's got a huge wingspan.
And
so that's a lot of weight
as well. It's I assume partly to keep the weight down.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they've done this, because it seems to be moulded. Because Matt's Bison, you can see it's two halves, isn't it? Which they've stuck together. But this doesn't look like that, to be honest. Because I can't see any secret.
We were going to do it as a review. We have to bring it back down when we're all unlocked and we'll review it.
Yeah. But actually getting it out and looking at it now is making me want to get out and build it.
That's it. You should do.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to know how they did that, because I can't see any centre seam line at all.
If it's anything like their other one, because I've seen the Candid, I think they polished it up. It was two halves joined, but they'd sealed it and polished it and made it look perfect. So I was saying, I can't understand why the Bison's so bad. It's like they had a day off.
Well, they've done it really well then, because if they've done that, they've even re-scribed all the recessed detail.
Yeah. Don't know. Might be different, but
yeah, that's a big
very
old
nice
lump.
job. But again, the thing is, if you're dealing with resin, what you do have to allow for is, like, the classic example is my starred straw we had down yesterday. I had loads of questions about it. And people saying about, like, with its resin, how does it work? And I was saying, well, the build's up there, but you can imagine it's sheets. It's literally, you've got sheets of resin. The trouble I had, because that kit was done in 1981, it had warped. So when you put them on top, they were like bananas. So you had to try and straighten them out. And I used a lot of brass rod and time to straighten it back out. But that's why my Star Destroyer doesn't sit like this. I have it on display and it sits on its bum, pointing straight up. And that's because also to take the weight, because there's a lot of weight in that. It's very, very heavy because it's resin. So what I've actually done is inside it, I've strengthened it up with various parts in there to help hold it up. We used styrene sheet to keep it up. Otherwise it will pancake. And to be honest with you, I've got a friend of mine who collects original Star Wars stuff. The joke often is that the resin, because they're manufactured one after the other, a lot of them were resin, you can always tell if it's an original because it will warp and they bend. If it's straight, you have to question why is it straight, because all the other ones are sort of warped. The X-Wings have all got droopy wings, and that's because they weren't stood on their end pointing straight up. They've been displayed in display, and over time the resin will slowly warp, and so that is all obviously your little thing. Over maybe 30, 40 years, you might get some warpage into it. But to be honest, my X-Wings actually got brass rods in the wing to stop that from happening. So, which is quite a nice touch. They were like reinforced to stop them doing it. But yes, there you go. It's the front on.
That's huge.
It's going to be a lump, seeing as it's got a similar wingspan, if not more.
And you lot keep egging me on to buy that models of it 225.
Yeah, but I think also, I'll tell you another nice aircraft. I was watching it this morning on YouTube. Is from the flight deck, it's called. It's really good. And it was the AN-22, which is like the massive Herc Russian version. It's got the huge twin boom. It's very similar to the Midas. Sorry, not the Midas, the AN-22. So yeah, you'll be fine with all of that.
What's the wingspan?
I think you should get on with it. You'll be absolutely fine.
That's a big old beast.
It is. You're going to have lots of. Are you going to join in with us then when we do the Argosy? This one, Nathan's one as well, because Nathan's doing one. We were doing Dog of the Kit. We might have just brought it forward.
I think we've found the dog of the kit manufacturer.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a Mac 2 kit.
We can get you one. That's not a problem. There's a Bison with your name on it.
Someone's building a Bison on the site, aren't they?
I know.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there is. Doing a fantastic job on it as well. Just showing what can be done. As I say, one of those. Right, if anyone's got any questions, poke them up now, and we'll do our best to sort of answer them in an inevitable way. Lots of people in YouTube chat. Good afternoon to you guys. We are all well, and thanks for the output. We're doing our best. Bert says, after 35 years, started again with the hobby with the Airfix 72nd Spitfire. Is it an idea to make a show on 1/72 scales like Airfix Tamiya? Absolutely, you can do anything. The 72nd kits now, trust me, if you're coming back to it, they are the equivalent of what 48 scale used to be. The detail is absolutely brilliant. Fantastic kits. And obviously Airfix have been working really hard on their 72nd range. Guys saying they won't be buying it. I assume you mean the Hind. That's it, I've just killed their sales. That's why I love the Tamiya 30 seconds. They give you the detail without having to dole out the money for the aftermarket sets. Yes, they've got, and to be honest, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, Tamiya's 30-second ones, they make fantastic kits right out of the, you know, out of the box, and you don't need to spend any more on them. But it does come at a price, because their kits, especially now the price has gone up, is commanding a little bit more, which is the thing. Have you ever done anything big like that, Nave?
30-second scale, the only stuff I've built is tornadoes, I think. It's just not a scale I run to. I've got the Tamiya Mustang
Oh, nice.
up there. It's on the bucket list
Bucket list kit.
kits. It's one of those kits that I wanted one of them,
Yeah.
so I went with the Mustang.
Very
But
nice.
this is about as big as I really like to get these days.
Yeah.
48 scale fighter jets, and anything bigger than that I haven't really got the setup for it.
No, they need to be either at the unit or wall hangers. They make very nice wallpaper. Question: have you seen Black Dog resin sets for the 48 F16 fully opened up? If so, what do you think of it? No, it looks fantastic. Yeah, the Black Dog stuff is lovely. Really, really good. Again, it's one of those where the F16 one, I think they do the entire down the sides completely open and the tail and everything. They are absolutely, you know, over the top for detail. Would make a fantastic little diorama for a sort of, you know, maintenance workshop type thing with one completely opened up. But again, it's one of those ones, how far do you want to go with the detail? And that is definitely to the top level of it, because by the time you've done everything, but they make some fantastic ones. The F15 ones, and they do the Phantom, the F16, they do a lot of helicopter stuff as well. I often fancy doing the Viking with it all in and all of that as well, because that's absolutely fantastic. Good morning from Seattle. Hello. Hello from Buenos Aires. Absolutely. Back to the hobby. Start of the year, I saw Phil's review of the Zucchimori models, and I really like to do one. Would you say they're a good purchase till my skills improve to tackle one? Again, it's one of those things. The Zucchimori kits are beautifully done, but just be mindful about when you're putting them together, paint and glue with widths and that, because they have interiors. But again, Zucchimori, you know, they're almost like Tamiya and some. I always think Zucchimori is halfway between Tamiya and Wingnut Wings, because you've got all that gorgeous internal detail with them. And it used to be in the UK they were too expensive. They were very, very expensive. But now with the price of other manufacturers going up, like Tamiya, Hasegawa and stuff like that, Zucchimori isn't as far out as it used to be. So their Phantoms do look very nice. I've never built one, but I've always said I wouldn't mind having a go at the Phantom. Zucchimori, what do you think of it, guys?
I'm waiting for the next batch of F4s before I build one.
Yes.
There is that big debate that you put all that internal detail in and you don't see it.
Absolutely. But you know it's there.
I've never owned one of their kits, I must admit. So
I'm waiting for an F4 F4G, and I think that might be my first step in that.
I do like the look of that. Was it them that did the Henschel 129?
Yeah.
Yeah, Andy picked that up, didn't he, at Telford? Yeah, that does look nice.
Yeah.
I must admit, I had the Sky Raider with all the stuff, you know, because they released it, didn't they, with the weapon set that went with it, and then they did all the cockpit placards and everything, and I had absolutely everything. And then I gave it away as a prize. That was very good of me, I know. But we actually did that as a prize for something. It was worth about 290 quid with everything. And but the reason I did that is because I've got the trumpeter one there, and I thought, I'm not being funny, Steve had built it, and I thought it's just a lot of work that you're never going to see at all. And I thought, if you're going to do one, I would want it closed up, because I like the lines of the Sky Raider. I think it's actually quite a good looking aircraft, but if you're having it all opened up, I don't think it works. So I've got the trumpeter one up there to do one day, the 30-second trumpeter one. And I've decided that I wasn't going to put in all that extra work and time for all the internal stuff you won't see. I'd sort of make my mind up. I thought it was a bit of a false thing, where obviously you could spend a lot more time detailing up and adding detail rather than not building it and never seeing it, if that makes sense. So yeah, so that's why I ended up, I kept that one, and we sold, well, gave away the other one as a prize, so that was it. But they are supposed to be bringing out the British Phantom, aren't they? If that rumour is correct, so it'd be interesting to see if that one does turn up, because at the moment all you've got is the old Hasegawa kits, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the Spey engine Phantoms. You know, and
I was going to say, is it actually going to be the Spey engine one, or is it going to be the J?
The J, just the J.
See,
I'm hoping that, because obviously the Spey engine one's got a totally different underbelly because it's deeper, bulges where the engines are, and obviously it's got different intakes and nozzles and all the rest of it just for a start, let alone the tail and the wings. But you know, it would be nice if somebody did one, because there's quite a lot of mileage you can do in all the versions, you know, with the Navy and the Air Force versions of those. But yeah, if they do just do a J, it'll be a little bit disappointing if they knock one of them out.
you can get the J now.
Yeah, that's it. So
I need to do aftermarket for the decals, but
yeah. What would you suggest one can darken aluminium, aka extreme metal color? What would you suggest one can use to darken aluminium? If you're using AK extremes, be careful when you mix them together, because some of their colors don't like to mix. I think there's a pigment issue between some of the metals, and I think it's dural aluminium that doesn't like mixing with other things, because I've tried it and it turns to gum. It goes horrible. So what I would suggest is just testing, but I've done it in the past. I've mixed I think it was like burnt metal in with something else, just to give a more heated look to an exhaust, on the metal color on the exhaust. So you can mix them, so you could do it that way if you wanted to darken it down. Use the gunmetal color in with the aluminium, just a touch, just to darken it. Again, the extreme metals is an enamel, but it's like a hybrid enamel. It's not normal, so I don't think you can just chuck like enamel paints into it and it's going to work. It doesn't like mixing with other things particularly well. Good morning from Seattle. Hello, Steph. And we've also got what's the question then, Brian? I apologise, not a modelling question, sort of. And then there's no question, unless I've missed it. Oh yeah, question to John. I am thinking about converting my new shed into my man cave. It's 10 by 6 and trying to sort out insulation. What did you use?
I was very eco-friendly, and I've got sheep's wool insulation.
So it's all
is that
right.
the influence of your good wife?
Yes.
Yeah, and to be honest, it was a damn sight cheaper than the likes of that. Oh, what was it?
Celotex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't itch like fiberglass.
Yeah.
So it's safe to use without any protective gear.
Does it smell like wet dog though?
It does smell a bit rural,
Right.
I will admit.
It's got that farmyard smell.
But it's incredibly warm, actually.
Yes.
And the good thing with it, if it does get wet, it doesn't lose any of its thermal properties.
Yeah.
You know, if you got wool fiberglass insulation, if that gets wet, it can totally knacker it, can't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, this sheep's wool stuff doesn't. And like I say, it cost as well. It's a damn sight cheaper, believe it or not, than Celotex, and much more better for the environment.
Absolutely. And you've got the thought with all those little sheep in your around you.
And it does get lovely and toasty in here, to be honest.
Well, the thing is, the nice thing with that is, you say it's neutral, so it should keep it cool in the summer.
Yeah.
And reflects the heat out of you, and then obviously warm in the winter. And obviously you've been with it all winter, and it's been fine in there, isn't it?
Yeah. It breathes nicely as well, so you know you don't get any build up of moisture. So yeah, I can highly recommend that.
Very good. There you go. Any recommendations for a well-detailed Cold War jet? Tornado.
I keep saying tornado to everything.
I know.
What scale did it say?
It didn't say what scale. Again, I think you are pretty spoiled. If you look at anything from Hasegawa, because they tend to be all their Cold War stuff. You know, literally from the Sabre, F-104s.
You're spoilt for choice now, really, aren't you?
Yeah, I was going to say, really, you're okay. But for a nicely detailed one, let's say Phantoms, if, you know, obviously you've got loads of options. Zukamori make a very detailed one in 48th. And then obviously you can go right the way through to Academies, you know, along that way. So, again, you are pretty much sorted for anything.
You want to go the other side of the Iron Curtain, you've got the Eddard MiG-21.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah, definitely. I think Eddard's MiG-21 is the definitive MiG, isn't it, in all scales now.
Yeah.
It's beautiful in all of those ones. But yeah, really, and as I say, Hasegawa, if you want to go a little bit and then maybe add a resin ejector seat, something else like that. They don't have the detail that modern kits have, but surface detail they do. And they're pretty much done everything from that ilk. That used to be their key core of kits back in the day.
Well, I've finished that one now.
Yeah.
And that's the Hasegawa kit. And it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Details basic compared to what we used to, but it goes together really well.
Yeah.
And I didn't really use any filler on it at all. So yeah, worth a punt, the Hasegawa kits. If it wasn't for this group build we're doing now, the COVID one, that'd just sit in my stash. I wouldn't have done it.
No.
I'm glad I have now.
No, it's nice. So yeah, really, you can take your pick on that one. There's loads of different options. Hello, seems Pledge has stopped making floor shine. Can you recommend anything else with ease to dip your windscreens? They do. What do they call it now? The brown label. Floor care, isn't it? Or something they call it?
Not sure.
They do. It's the brown label one. It's exactly the same as the old formula, but it's the new one. I'm sure it's called Pledge something or other, multi whatnot with shine. Hold on, let's have a look. Products.
Pledge floor care.
Pledge floor care, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a brown label, and it's just like the old one used to be. It's sort of re-come back. They've got rid of that horrible milky one that they used to do, and are doing that one now. You can, if you're in the US, I think they still have that one. It's with the blue label. This is the US bottling of it, but now the UK one, it's the same, but it's like yellow and brown. Anyway, that one's available, and it's just the same. But again, the trouble is, we've spoken about this, it's not cheap like it used to be, whereas that used to be £3.50 a bottle back in the 90s. It's now, is it 15 quid or whatever it is? It's not cheap, so it's no different from using a proper UV based gloss and dipping that. Hi guys, can anyone recommend a good 1/72nd, 1/48th flight stand? Fed up with doing undercarriage. Well, okay, that's one way of getting out of doing your undercarriage. To be honest, I have got some coming, weirdly. I haven't got them here yet, but I believe they're en route for me to review. There's a company who wants me to review, so will be interesting to see what they're like when they're here. So watch this space. But apart from that, I quite like doing acrylic ones. So you can do acrylic stands and make them up like that. If you've just seen the latest builds that I've done, which is obviously clearly this one. If you want a nice in-flight stand, you can do something. The reason for doing it this way is that the acrylic rod, because it's a single engine jet, it's perfect for it. It makes the heat blur effect, and then you can just have it up on display, and I just put a little bit of heat colour onto the acrylic so it looks like it's got an exhaust coming out of it like that. I quite like that particular one. I've got quite a few in that particular style. I've got a MiG-21 that's going to go with this one, so they'll both go together. So you can do it those, or just normal acrylic ones. But say I have got some en route. I spoke to the person about it on Friday, so but again the postage is a little bit out of whack at the moment. Thanks, Bill. Just got my seat ordered. Okie dokie. Zukomori apparently are bringing out the F4E, which would be nice because that's the one we're missing. I thought Academy were going to bring one out, but they decided not to, by the looks of it. Have the Airfix Nimrod in 72nd to build. Any tips on doing this great plane? Justice. I got it as well. It's plenty of aftermarket-y bits, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you got one, Nath?
I've got one, but it's in the auction pile.
The to-go pile.
Yeah, 'cause again, it's just size. I think Alicat do an intake, a resin seamless intake,
Plug
and they
intake
also
for
do
it.
a canopy set for it as well. But out
Yeah,
it ain't bad.
They do actually the replacement inner wing section, don't they, with the whole engines, the lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think out the box it isn't too bad.
I think it's one of those funny kits because when it got released, there was so much hype about it, but never saw any built. Nobody really built it. And then I assume, I can't speak for Airfix, but I assume it was a bit of a flop because at one point they were giving them away. Literally, you could pick them up so cheap. And then, as always, now they've been stopped and they haven't released it for yonks. Now they're getting really rare. They're commanding good money on eBay. But at one point, they were going for a tenner at model shows, piles of them, just trying to get rid of them. But I must admit, I've got one down there with my TSR2 and 48 scale to do at some point. And I must admit, we keep saying about maybe getting rid of it, but I won't. I'll keep it because, again, it'd be quite nice to do along with, obviously, if we're doing the 72nd VC10, it's sort of its stable mate, isn't it, really? So.
And it's the nice plastic as well that they used to do.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a good kit. We've had a couple of questions on here.
Go, yes.
It's briefly about helicopters. How do you put the droop in the blades?
Over your thigh. It sounds funny, but we've all done it and it works.
Just bend it.
Just bend it over your thigh. That's what I always do. You know.
You can, if you've got a sort of a slightly domed saucer, you can tape them to that and run it under the hot tap. That generally. But a lot of them nowadays, even that Hasegawa one, which is 35 years old, they came pre-drooped.
Yeah, this one is as well in this kit. They've got the pre-droop moulded into them.
So you have to check your references because a couple of helicopters have got rigid blades, haven't they?
Well, the Lynx, isn't it? The Wildcat, they don't droop. They look really odd. If you see them when they're powered down, they are dead straight, and you're like, really? That looks just like they're wrong. So
and the other one's on your B17. I think it's Neil that asked this one. How much aftermarket are you going to throw at it?
Not tons, to be honest. I've got a few bits and pieces that hopefully might be with me tomorrow. I'm sort of hoping. Depends if that certain person, Mr. Matt, gets them in the post to me. But what I've really got coming for it is the photo etch cockpit set, because I think it needs it really for that around the glassy areas. You can see quite a bit in there. And that's literally it. I've decided I'm not going down the engine route and all the rest of it because you can get replacement engines for it. So we're not going to do that. But I've got harnesses coming for it as well. I've got some barrels because the barrels I think really needs doing justice. So I've got brass turned barrels for the 50 cals. And that's literally it. The rest of it will be of my own, which is amazing. We've got to try and make decals for it, which will be interesting. So yes. It should be a fun one to do.
I saw a question as well. Christian from Switzerland was asking about he's having problems with his AK Extreme Metals, but they're the old bottles.
Yeah.
So you're right, Christian. They did have quality problems.
Yeah, the early ones are all a little bit. Yeah.
So you might want to replace them.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's one of those things. There's no derivative way. I know some people were saying about they smell different, which is great, unless you've got the other one, because otherwise you wouldn't know if they're a different smell. So I don't know. We've looked at them before. We tried to pick out code numbers for them back in the day and stuff, but it doesn't seem to be, any particular right or reason to it. I was led to believe what happened was when they were actually doing the batches of them, like we said before, not all of them are identical. They are slightly differences in them, and it turns out when they don't sort of clean the pipes out when they're being bottled, if they're using one of the other colours, it contaminates, and that's what they had. And that was the reason the original ones are all a little bit out of whack. But as I say, they did sort of replace and do. So again, it may be an idea of contacting AK direct and saying, look, got a dodgy bottle, can you do something for me? If you mention Flory models, they tend to be very good, bless them. David says, Phil, today makes the 3rd year as a Flory Models member. I was 67 old when I joined. There you go. I would have been 45 then when you joined. So yes, congratulations. Team question: which aircraft do you dream of being made into a model kit, but not one that has been done yet?
I think a couple of things I'd like a new tool of, but say it's never been kitted. Oof, that's hard.
That's a tough one.
I still would love to see a 30-second, either two kits for me. A 30-second scale Jaguar, which I know, I've heard the rumours as well that Trumpeter are allegedly doing one, and now Kitty Hawk. That's because one of their lead designers went across. So it'd be really nice to see that. And my other one would be a 132nd Sea Harrier. That's
a decent one.
Yeah, preferably an FA2 because I like the Shah. But that would be my 2 dream kits that I would love to do. I think a Jaguar is quite nice because it's not big. It's not a big jet, and it's quite small wingspan and that, so it's not going to take up a ton of space, which is quite handy. And obviously the Sea Harrier is quite compact as well. So it's not like they're 2 kits in 30 seconds you can get away with and don't take up much. You know, to be honest, I've got the 30-second AV8B down there, and as I say, it doesn't take up much more room than a F48 scale F15. So, you know, it's quite a nice size to have. I'd like to do that. It'd be really nice to do a decent FA2 Sea Harrier, or even just a normal Sea Harrier. It'd be quite nice in 30 seconds. But say a Jag, well, to be honest, the rumours about the Jag were going around at the same time as when the rumours of the Intruder were. So it'd be interesting to see if they ever makes it to fruition. But there was a rumour going around not very long ago that Kitty Hawk were doing it. So we will see.
Yeah, I'm spoiled now, really, because like there's so much Russian stuff on the market. You can get virtually everything. I suppose it would, going back to where we started the show, it would be nice for someone to do a range of 148 scale Russian helicopters.
I think we've had this one come up before. The Puma.
Yeah.
While you're on helicopters.
Yeah.
That's a big gap. Do you know what I'd like to see is, because it's expensive getting brass in, a decent RAF weapons set.
Yeah, that's a very good shout, actually. Yeah.
Because you've got Brimstones, Paveway 2s, Raptor Pods, Storm Shadows. Because at the moment, like, I know Eddard have just popped out a load of resin stuff, but I'd like to see an RAF weapons set, because it's sadly lacking. Even just the simple iron bombs that the RAF use are a devil to get hold of.
Absolutely, and the CRV-7 rocket pods. They used to be a particular contention of mine, trying to do that. Yeah, but no, you're right. Actually, that's a very good point. It would be nice if somebody did an injection moulded, you know, because I say you get the ones like I've got the US Ordnance set over there, which is the new one from AMK. I've got shed loads of the old Hasegawa sets throughout the eras and things like that. But as you say, no one does a proper RAF set of all our type of stuff. Because we were discussing this with Brimstone the other day, weren't we? Yeah, definitely. That's something that's definitely been overlooked. So yes, we need that. Whoever's watching and listening, 48 scale RAF weapons set. Would that be too much to ask? You'd probably sell a bucket load of that as well. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of suggestions. A French bomber might have sneaked in. An LEO 451, which I'm presuming is French.
Is that Nigel?
Yes.
Is Nigel spamming the chat now with French bombers? RA says, just made the 132nd Mirage 2000C. Why do Chinese companies get their instructions wrong most of the time? The weird thing is, don't forget, technically Kitty Hawk isn't actually a Chinese company. I know they do their injection moulding in there and it comes out of there, but I do believe they're based in the US. So again, it's one of those ones where I think some things get lost in translation sometimes. And to be honest with you, I've got it down there. I've got one sat there. And John, good friend of ours, John does a lot of work with them, does a lot of their designs and various things for their builds when they're first done and that. And again, he will pick out that it just seems to be they're a little bit sloppy with the part call outs as well. So it's almost like whoever's doing the instructions isn't talking to people afterwards who build them, which might be an idea, just to say, look, you've got it wrong. But as we know, talking to Pramjit, he was explaining to us, obviously he's a designer, he doesn't do anything to do with the instructions. Okay, so even though he's designed it, he knows how it would go together, but then what happens is there's a dedicated team who do instructions. They might think of it done differently, which is a bit weird because you think it would be on the same page, but again, sometimes there is a little bit of crossover, which doesn't come across too well sometimes, so they might do it slightly out of sequence as well. So it just seems a bit odd. You think they'd all be on the same page, but clearly they're not. Yeah, classic Cold War jet. Sorry, you've got to give it Airfix's Lightning. We missed that one, definitely. Yep. If you're thinking Cold War, yeah, the Lightning, Airfix Lightning.
I'll also put a question up. He's got a small crack where the sprue gate met the canopy when he clipped it off, despite using a good nipper and being careful. Ooh.
Yeah.
Tried sand polished it, but it is not going away. Any other tips for fixing it?
Okay, first thing off, you should have watched my basic on doing it and you would have seen how to avoid that. Always cut off, never go right up to on clear parts, because what you've done, you've fractured the clear part, and to be honest, there's no getting back from that.
No.
Even if you dip it and all the rest of it, you have just, that's it. You're not going to come back from it.
The other way with canopies is to
razor saw it.
Yeah.
Razor saw it off.
Yeah, I mean, I built a Gannet and I split two of the canopies, so I ended up making it into a small diorama and had a ground crew polishing the canopy where the split is.
Yeah.
So it basically just sort of covered that one little bit of the canopy. Everybody knows why I've done it. That's it.
Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll give you another small tip as well, because a very good friend of mine who's a professional modeller who remain nameless did exactly the same thing as well. So what he does, or did, he put the map, as if the pilots put a map down the side of the canopy, you know, that bit between as the canopy's over and the actual instrument panel combing. He's got a map in there because there is quite a nasty crack. Because he split it doing the same thing. And so he's put a map down there, which is another good one, because you've got the map there. It's not like black, you can't see it. So he's literally just got a little bit of, mappy thing and just folded it up, pushed it in there, wedged it in there, and it's absolutely fine. You can't see it. So you can hide the thing. And to be honest, a lot of crews do stick their maps and various things in there like that. So it doesn't look out of place at all.
It is annoying, because the other solution is, I know you can't do it at the moment, but few companies will sell you a spare canopy.
Yeah.
At the moment, I think they're Airfix are not doing it at the moment, I think, with the COVID stuff. But once this is over, if it's Airfix, you can certainly buy for a couple of pounds.
Yeah.
You can get another canopy off them. But I think the diorama or the map, tarp it.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's not. You don't need to bin the kit. You just have to be a bit creative now with what you do with the rest. Maybe put a ladder on it with a crew member climbing in, so the hand is where the split is.
Absolutely, there is different things you can do. It just to sort of hide it out of the way. I must admit, I did it once to a Phantom, and where you clip them off the top is at the top of the actual canopy. So I put his helmet. Sometimes they slide the helmet on there. And I PVA glued the helmet on top of it because that got rid of it. So there is different ways you can just creatively hide your little mistakes. We've all done it, you know, and it's just one of those annoying things, because once it's cracked, it's a bit like if you fogged it with like extra thin. When it goes white, there's no coming back from that. It's had it. So, and I did it to a bloody Harrier, and they've got a very slim between the instrument coaming and the front windscreens, not a lot of gap, and I for some reason put extra thin in there, and it just ran it up and just fogged the lot. So at that point it ended up having a tarp, but I'd had it as if it had been rolled down the front a bit, so it was only halfway up the windscreen, as if it just would have been over the top, and they pushed it halfway down. It had a ladder, and again, you do what you can to sort of, you know, hide these things away.
Yeah.
Hi Phil and team. Question: in 1/48 scale, which Saab Viggen or A10 would you recommend? Well, to be honest, with the Viggen, you've got the Special Hobby. Who's the originator?
Tarangas.
Tarangas is your best bet. You've got the old Esky Airfix version, but yeah, not nice. And then for the A10, to be honest, you've got the Hobby Boss one. I think is the best bet for an A10. You've got other options. Tamiya do one, but it's raised. The old Monogram one, but it's raised. So if you want a recessed panel line, straightforward job, although they have got some issues, it depends how much of a rivet counter you are. But the Tarangas or Special Hobby reboxing of the Viggen, especially, you're saying 48 scale, but actually I love their little 70-second. One for you, Nate. The Special Hobby 70-second Viggen is beautiful. It's a fantastic little kit, that is.
It's on the list once things are moving again.
Go on, Nathan. The 70-second one with the splinter camo, wraparound camo.
Yeah,
it's on the list. I remember when I was a kid, this is back in the days of brush painting, I did the Matchbox 2-seater. I mean, I haven't got it anymore. It must have looked awful.
Yeah, I think I built that as well when I was there.
But yeah, that's a good Cold War Viggen, isn't it? Another Sweden or something. It's a good Cold War subject, that.
Definitely. How much is Matt wanting for the Bison? To be honest, it's got more sentimental value, I think, and comedy value. It's almost priceless when it comes to that, compared to the other things, but there you go. I don't know. Shoot Matt a message.
It's open to offers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's open to offers on that. But to be honest, as we said before, it's got to be sensible offers because it owes the company a lot of money. So it's not like we're just ever going to give it away. We'd rather have it there for comedy value.
Yeah. It's just there so we can taunt him.
Yes, it sits there on the shelf in the unit.
Yeah, it's like his conscience just talking.
Yeah.
On his shoulder, isn't it?
Yeah, he bought it. I'm not letting him live it down. Any advice on how to start using photo etch parts? I've never used them before. I'm looking to giving them a go. What tools do you need? Okay, well, to be honest, I think the easiest thing you can do, and you don't have to use a product like Tamiya's one, but if you use, these are photo etch benders. Basically, you can just get normal ones from the hobby shop for like, what do they call it? Like beading and jewellery making, you know, and it's the same thing, but you just want flat so it doesn't have teeth, pair of pliers, because you can pop your photo etch in there and then you can just bend it. And you've got angles on it about 45 degrees on these, so you can do it that way. That's great. Okay, that's a simple one for doing most little jobs. They do a mini pair of that as well somewhere. Hold on, have my tools, which is in here somewhere, I think. There you go. They do a mini version of it as well. So you've got the big and small versions. Okay, just like that. And then if you want to go a little bit further, you've got these types of things, which are like hold and fold things. So the whole point is you can come along. Where's my other one? Where's the little one? Here it is. And as I say, I have got another very nice one that's very expensive and a lovely colour. But you got these, and then what happens is you can spin these round, so you can have any type. So you can just have flat on here and then bend it straight down the side to give you 90 degrees, and you can just rotate them to whichever one you want. So if you want it on here for bending, or you want to go off the edge and bend it down, you can do it in both directions with these. And again, this thing's exactly the same. So at the moment I've just got one giant flat edge on here, but you can take these off like so. Okay, spin it round, and you can have the teeth this way, and then you can just put it in. There we go. And you can use the little bit. So the idea being is obviously you can slip it under here, and you can bend up the sides if it's like a box shape, if you've got the little ones, all these different areas. But again, you can just use, if you want to do a 90-degree bend, just shove it in here and then just bend it straight down. But I use a razor blade, and then obviously you've got a little edge, there's a little groove runs down here. So the whole point is you just come along with your photo etch, you put it into here and then just bend up, and the blade sticks in this groove, so it gives you a perfect area, it doesn't skip. And then also, as you can see on here, that's how I cut my photo etch off, usually with a blade, and just cut it off the photo etch. That way it keeps it flat. Okay, so that's a nice little trick to it. But again, you can spend a fortune, you can have a really posh one. I'll get slated for showing it because no one likes it, but I do. You got these ones as well, which are very, very expensive, but very nice. What you got for bending photo etch, chaps?
Can't find them, but I've got from Boots, which is a chemist or a drugstore, flat end tweezers with a flat end on them.
Yeah.
That I think ladies use for their eyebrows and other things.
Yeah,
for plucking things.
Just
I use them. It's filthy, but a Tamiya paint stirring stick's got a flat end on it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't do enough photo etch to warrant spending money on it really, but you need something with a flat end because you want bends, don't you?
Yeah, I've got one of those master tool ones as well, but
yeah,
I haven't got any of that specialist equipment. I've just got some flat.
It depends what you're bending. If you're just doing, to be honest, like simple stuff, and you're just putting in like surface detail. So sometimes you'll get like photo etch panels which just literally stick to wings. You know, like, to be honest, my Hind has got panels all over it for various things. So that's a classic example. But then if you're into doing other things like making tubes, it's well worth investing into a roller. I haven't got one, to be honest, because I've lent it to a friend of mine and never seen it again, but it's quite good. So you have literally a series of basically dips, and then you've got the perfect size to go in. But the other way of doing it, and it's a one thing I do, is I use a Flory Models, clearly, because you have to use a Flory Models one, because no other one will ever do. You just find an old bit of photo etch to show it. I can find an old bit of photo etch. So what you can do is just something as simple as, like on here, if I just do this and then we go like here. So obviously by a very grubby one, so you've just got your photo etch like this. So if I just grab here just to show, so if you wanted to make a bend, very light bend in here, all we do is put this down, grab something literally like a paintbrush or whatever you want to use, other brushes clearly are available. Okay, and you just sit it down, start at one end, and then you just roll. And then depending on how hard you push down, and then obviously how hard your paintbrush, your diameter of the paintbrush, you can then do rolls and circles and stuff. And then, as I say, if you use a smaller one, you can increase the angle, you know, and various things to it. So you can actually use it for doing it. So if you've got something just a mouse mat, works great, but it's a slightly soft edge. But if you did need to just put in a very light roll, you could use something like, probably too big, there we go, you know, and you can literally just come along and you can just squidge down just to get it to start to go, just to give a light type of bend. But you can use items you've got as well. So I often use paint pots and various things, and you can bend things around. But again, you can just use different diameter things, and again you can do the old rub technique as well. So you heat up the photo etch and you rub.
yeah, I was going to say sometimes with photo etch it pays to anneal it as well, sort of just run it through a flame briefly,
yeah,
and let it cool down, and that'll help it bend a bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you put a bit of heat, it just softens it, almost makes it more pliable and stuff like that. But again, you can just literally just come in with these things, and you know, as you say, you give it a rub, you can put bends into things. So really, you can do it and spend a fortune, but if you don't want to and you just want to do it a little bit on the cheap, you could literally just use, as I said, cheap pair. All you need is something with a flat, so you don't have teeth, because as soon as you grab it, it's going to put the teeth marks are going to be into your photo etch, and you don't want that. So you just need them with flat edge, you know. So anything like that will work really well. And then once you've got something like this, obviously you just pop these in and hold it, and then you can bend things around, and you can make boxes, and you can make, you know, if you wanted to. If I just try and do this on the fly. You know, you can actually just come along and put various shapes, right angles and various things into photo etch, which works quite well.
The one bit of advice I would give, if you're just starting off with photo etch, just be very careful about what you pick.
Yeah, a nice little zoom set like that would be a good
Yeah.
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 Because it can be an awful lot more hassle than it's worth, can't it, photo etch?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Photo etch is one of those things where it can be your best friend, but also it can make so much work for you. And the biggest problem you've got, if you're using photo etch and you bend it, trying to flatten it out again is almost impossible. So always keep it flat. And that's why I say, if you've got like something like this, I'll come along and I'll put my photo etch, you know, parts on here. I was showing it the other day, and I'll cut them out by pushing down. So that way it stays on there. Another little tip as well, if you're removing parts from the photo etch, is to either use putty or like blue tacky stuff, put it onto the behind the parts so they stick to it, and then when you cut them they don't ping off. Okay, or the other thing as well is just to use a little bit of tape. So you just grab a little bit of Tamiya tape or whatever tape you're using, put it to the back of the said part on here. So if I just show you on here, so when it's down and you cut the tiny little parts off the sprues, so we've got these little tiny guys in here, it doesn't fly off, so it just stays on because you've stuck it to the tape, and then stick it to the tape until you need it. Okay, so you just have it on here, so that way you don't lose it. So you stick into the tape and away you go. But this one here, you can see it's supposed to have a bend on it. So the great one for these is these little pliers. So you can just come along, put it up to the area you want to bend it, and again keeping it on the tape so you never let go of the tape, and that way you don't lose it. And there we've got one bent.
That's why I don't like photo etch. Look at the size.
Yeah.
But again, always keep it on tape, because if you sneeze, they take off. If you catch them on your arm, on your sleeve, if you've got clothing on and stuff like that, you will lose them. So I always stick them to a bit of tape. So because it's on the tape as well, you can then just come along and then stick it on here, and at any point I can come back because I know it's on there, and away you go. So a little tip there of not losing your photo etch, because many times I've been looking down and you just can't see it anywhere, you know. So but yes, that's it, simples. But photo etch is one of those, start off very straightforward with flat objects, and then you can work your way up to building complex cockpits, entire cockpits, seats where you've got loads of folds and all the rest of it. But it's a little bit like doing origami, then you've got to work out the best way to fold it to be able to make a box and stuff, so it can get a little bit complex.
And then you've got all the headaches associated with trying to attach it to the model.
Yeah. Which I always use a thick CA glue or PVA.
Yeah.
So that way you can move it. So especially with colour photo etch, because the trouble with PVA glue, the trouble with super glue is if it grips, if you've got a thin glue, it will, wherever you first touch it, it just sticks and you can't slide it around into position. So if you use the gel type super glues and that, you can place it down and then literally like move it into position as you need it, and then just do a quick clean up job. The lovely thing with using PVA glue as a form of sticking down photo etch is that you just wet a cotton bud and you've got easy clean up. And you know, and also it dries crystal clean, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, Keith's made a good point, is you don't have to use every last bit of photo etch on a fret.
Yeah, which is what I always say, isn't it? Because a lot of people do, and I'm like, why would you even bother? Because like famously I don't do rudder pedals because you never see them anyway.
Sometimes I don't even do control columns. People haven't noticed.
Well, this is it. What is a good putty? Again, we get this question a lot. I like Perfect Plastic Putty. It's a water-based one, easy cleanup, no problem at all, but it's not structural. So if you're doing something with structure, you want something exactly like Tamiya putty. You want a lacquer-based putty so it actually attaches to the plastic. The trouble with the water-based ones, it's just sitting on the surface, so it's not structural. So if you're thinking about doing a wing seam or something else like that that may have a bit of flex in it, they will crack. So yeah, it's always best to have it. And to be honest, that one Nathan's got, I think, is the go-to normal standard putty. It's really good stuff. That
stuff stinks though. If you've got to be careful with it. It's
like all the best products, they stink. You know it's good if it stinks. You know.
Yeah, Keith's asking about my control column thing. It's my little rivet counter trap.
Yeah.
Because they'll come in and say, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And I'll say, I haven't got a control column either. And they just don't know.
they can't come back with that one. Who does the best large-scale Spitfire and jet? Ooh, large-scale Spitfire. Go with that.
Tamiya in 32.
Yeah.
Airfix do a 24th one if you want a challenge.
So do Trumpeter, don't they?
Yeah.
But the Airfix Spitfire is dimensionally correct, but it's ancient.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's best.
And the Trumpeter one is very early Trumpeter as well. So, yeah.
But if you want a Mark 1, they'll do that, don't they? Or Mark 1 or 2, they do the 32 spit, don't they? Because the Tamiya ones are just 9s or thereabouts, aren't they? Variations on a Spitfire 9, I think, like 8s and 9s.
Early Marks would be Rebel, won't it?
Yeah, early for your Battle of Britain Spitfires, you've got Revell.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
To be honest, we were saying that the Revell Spitfire and their Mustang, their new one, the 32nd ones, are actually both, considering also the price,
exactly.
really good value. You know, you've got everything you need, no problem at all. Obviously, if you step up to Tamiya, then you've got a beautiful engine, you've got gear, goes up and down, it's posable, you name it, it's got everything thrown at it. But that kit now is over 100 quid. Yeah. So it's literally like night and day between that and the Revell one. The Revell one's a good overall shape, but there's no real detail to it. But again, it's one of those you can then spend a little bit of money on a few bits and pieces if you wanted to, and still not spend anything near what you'd be spending on the Tamiya one.
Exactly.
As for large scale modern, well, you know, depends on which one you want to do. If you're thinking, you know, Hornets, then obviously it's Academy for their 32nd ones. If you're thinking Tomcats, I would say Trumpeter. And then obviously if you're thinking Phantoms, then Tamiya. Tamiya do the best F16. So yeah, it depends really on which ones you're doing. But Tamiya do a very nice range of obviously 32nd scale stuff right the way through. But that comes at a price.
The Tamiya F16, isn't that the best 32nd scale jet?
I would say so, yeah. Yeah, I've built quite a few of those over the years now. I must be on about 5 or 6, and yeah, it never fails to amaze me. You know, it goes together really well. It's very nice. And also, you can build that one straight out of the box. Yep. No, you don't need anything else from it. It's beautiful as it is. Question with the is the roller worth it for Tamiya masking tape? Without it, it's cheaper than the Revell tape, costs less than, and you get more.
What, the little...
Oh, the dispenser. Yeah, one of them.
It stops fluff getting on the edge.
Yeah.
Because what I think most of us do, you just buy one and then buy the refills.
Yeah.
Because that's all I do. I just buy a refill. That's why I've got the tape stuck round all of this, is just to hold it together. Because, yeah, since day dot, you just buy the refill sets for it. They come in a little pack. And there you go. Nathan's got them all.
It's just these unscrupulous merchants that when you order the tape dispenser one, they just send you a refill.
Oh, right. Okay.
Would that be someone we both know?
Yeah.
Do you know what I quite like those?
MB? Is that washi tape? Wishy tape?
I love these. In crazy colours, but for general masking, I'll use Tamiya on the edges.
Yeah.
I'll use this as a filler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these fit in the Tamiya plastic thingy-mabobs.
Yeah, no, they are very. I've got a set of those as well because it's really cheap, isn't it? It's about £5 and you get an entire set of them.
Yeah, £5 or £8.
Yeah, and you get the box
around
full.
and you get about 8 or 10.
Yeah. Sorry, some of the guys. A 132nd F-22. I don't think anybody does one there yet.
No, I think I will.
Yeah.
Neil's asking, who does good 148 scale pilot figures, World War II and modern?
That's a question for Matt, really, but PJ Productions have got a big range of pilots, but they're a bit... Zukimura do really, really nice World War II ones. That's a question for Matt tomorrow, really. He's far more up on his figures, isn't he?
I can't remember now. Someone does the range where they've got the pilot actually in the seat.
That's Quick Boost.
Quick Boost is what I used on mine for the MiG.
Yeah,
Matt's a figure man, isn't he? He knows far more about people. Right. But PJ Productions are good for... They do a couple of RAF ones, but they're okay. No, they're not too bad.
Question for John. What colour did you use on the Heinz interior and cargo bay?
To be honest, it's all closed up, so the cargo bay was just whatever grey I grabbed, because you can't see in. The cockpit and that is a mixture of black and the MRP number 2, is it? The Russian turquoise for the instrument panels. But to be honest, I didn't worry about it too much because it was only a quick build of it.
Guys are saying about the carpet monster. Loves photo etch. Certainly does.
Graham suggested that Reed Oak do figures. Might be worth a look-see.
All right, cool. Hi guys, any thoughts on Trumpy's 124 scale 0? To be honest, I don't know it. I don't know that kit at all. The only thing I would say, they were early trumpeter, and those suffered from the famous trumpeter riveter, which apparently had like a hammer and a large punch, and we would just go around and do them all. But again, I don't know that particular kit. I don't know if somebody can chirp up if they've ever built that one, give some advice. But personally, I don't know that kit.
Can't think I've ever seen one.
Yeah. I was able to get the Tamiya F16CN. Oh, well done. There you go, Steph. That's the kit to get. Because that's got all the different versions. You've got the big mouth and the little mouth in the same kit. You can use a bit of glue stick adhesive and attach and adjust the photo etch, and then run a bead of thin CA glue to secure it in place. Well, you can do, but I just tend to, as I say, if it's a photo etch, what I tend to do, if you would have seen me do it loads of times, is that because I like the glass effect with the dials, so if it's colour photo etch, you put the black one down first with backing dials, cover it thick in PVA glue, and then I just come along with the actual outer front piece with the bezels, stick it on and then push it in so it bulges up with PVA glue, looks like it's whiteheads, like zits all over it, and then just leave it, and it will self-level and gives you that glass look to the cockpit. So that's what I tend to do with that. And the only time I sort of usually super glue photo etch, if it's one of those areas where perhaps it's externally and you want it to go down flat. So if you've got like a slight curve and it's got to be flat, I'll super glue it. So I'll literally just put a blob of super glue in the middle, and then I will literally push it so it squeezes out, and then I'll whip round whilst it's still wet and just holding to get it to lay down. That way it seals all the way around the edge. Because if you get a tiny bit lift up, then you're in a little bit of trouble. Everyone's saying F22. F22 to what? What have I missed? Oh, perhaps they were saying they want a 32nd scale F22.
Big aeroplane in 32, wouldn't it?
Yes, that would be a monster. Soviet and Russian helicopters, some have a light blue to their interiors. Yeah, this is a bit of a minefield, isn't it? Difference between green and blue.
Yeah.
And whether they were export or...
That's it, because export tended to have the green colour, but then wouldn't it...
No, the other way. The exports, a lot of exports could be the blues and greys.
Right.
But it was a green colour that was developed. Apparently, it helped the air crew stay attentive and awake longer.
Yeah.
They found that green.
What, by giving them a headache?
Well,
Migraine.
There you go. Apparently, Revel testers did a 1/32 light. Oh yeah, but that's technically not like an F-22, is it? That was the YF, yeah, 22, wasn't it? It's not even the right shape. Great Models is building the Revel 1/72 F-14D Grim Reapers variant. What colour grey would you guys paint the underside? In that light ghost grey. Thought the light ghost grey, dark ghost grey, and then what I call Tomcat blue on top, which is 36237, is it? I think for the top side blue. I'm building the Airfix new tooled 1/48 scale Tiger Moth. Very nice kit. It does not live up to expectations. Oh, a few part issues. Do you know what? You're the first person to say that, because I know loads of people have built it, said it's beautiful. A few parts didn't fit properly. Had to cut off the locating pins to make the fuselage. Lots of sanding too. Ooh, it's unusual. As I say, takes all people. As I say, a couple of people I know have built it, said it actually was a little dream built and went together really well. So you never know, you see. The A50 looks amazing. There you go, John. You've got to build it.
yeah, I know.
You've got room to display it now in there. You're going to hang it off the ceiling.
It is one of those you don't see built very often.
No, at all. I've never seen one built.
One day.
Well, I did say I would do the Midas, wouldn't it? So I'd do the tanker. You could be refueling off me tanker.
Yeah.
So, but now I'm doing another tanker, so it might put me off for life. I did say prototype 22. Did you? Hey, what? Are we having separate conversations here? You can varnish over oiled weather. Sorry, can you varnish over oiled weathering? How long do you have to wait before varnishing? Yeah, you can, but make sure it's totally dry. So, depending on how much linseed oil you've got come out of it, will depend on how long it takes to dry. So, normally I would say give it a couple of weeks just to make sure it's totally gone off. Otherwise, it might sweat underneath the lacquer coat. I don't think it particularly hurt it, but you never know.
Have you reviewed the Academy 48 F14B? Is a question.
Yes, because we discussed this the other day, wasn't it? I said I had.
Ed's asking on the chat.
Hold on, I'll just pop to the site and find out. I don't know. It's like Groundhog Day. Reviews. I can't remember which one it is now. Academy. No, I've done the 72nd one. Yes, I've done the 72nd one. I haven't done the 48 scale one. I do believe the 48 scale one, the canopy doesn't look right, but I've seen people make it up and it doesn't look too bad. But for some reason, when you look at their pictures of it, it looks like it's too domed on top, but actually I think it's all right. But yeah, done the 72nd one, but not the 48 scale one.
To answer Dave, no, Phil hasn't built his 35th MI-17.
No, I've still got it down there, and I've got all the aftermarket for it as well. As I say, it's just one of them things. To be honest, that kit is very old trumpeter, so it's very bare, shall we say. So consequently, you've got that thing where you need to put a little bit of time and effort into it, because like internally, it's got no real detail at all. So it could do with a little bit of livening up. I have got the armoured plating set for it and a couple of other aftermarket bits for it, but I think it needs a lot of scratch building to bring it up to spec.
You do realise you can get an awful lot more aftermarket for that now, Phil?
Yeah, I know. We were talking about it the other week, but as I say, it's one of those where, yeah, because I'd like to do it armed up, go for an MI-17 look and just put the pylons on the side and all the rest of it, but that was a lot of scratch building as well. What are people talking about in here? Sorry. Have we got any other questions in R1?
Yeah, we've seen, Williams asked, he's seen various usage of Tamiya acrylics being used as a primer. Is this for any XF paint and more specifically white? I think white is the only time I wouldn't use Tamiya paints as a primer. I'd use the Alclad if I can get it out without destroying everything. I always use paints as primers, but white I use the Alclad primer. I think this is really good because I think white's just the one exception to that rule for me.
I think, yeah, at the end of the day, the God who makes it, one somewhere. What have I done with it? The primer missed the surface of the microfiller stuff from AK. They do a white version and a black. They do black, grey, and white. That's quite good as well. So if you're painting things like red, fluorescent colours, you always want a white primer coat in there first. So
yeah. That I've discovered that is the best white that I've ever sprayed.
Right.
It's brilliant. It's really sort of dense pigment in it, so it's got good coverage. You can spray that over black.
Yeah.
And it will cover it, no problem. Thin it with Mr. Leveling Thinner.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely, well, you know, like the Tamiya Fine Surface Primer.
Yeah.
It's got that finish to it.
Cool. I must admit, I've never used that stuff. So
yeah, no, I got some off of Matt a while ago, and I've only started using it. And I would use that for any white, not just primer.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Cool. I've got the 132nd Rebel F104G. Is it worthwhile chucking aftermarket at it, or just get the Italy one instead? Ooh, I'm just trying to think. I think it's literally, I haven't built, but I have reviewed, obviously, the Italy one. And that's got lots of different details inside, you know, which bring it up to spec. I'm thinking the Revel 32nd one is very old. I don't know how old that kit is, but I'm imagining it's got to be pretty old. If I was hedging my bets, I'd probably say go for the Italy one. Because that's actually, we've seen a few of those and it's made up very nice.
Yeah, I think the other one's raised panel lines and a bit 80s vintage.
Yes. Two Heads Talking says Academy 72nd F14 yes, 48 scale Bombcat no. There you go, avoid the Bombcat then. And how do I get involved with the Flory models group builds and competitions? Starting to get back into the hobby after a long break. Well, if you remember, you'll see all about it anyway, because it's just in the forum. So basically, all we do, we just have one rule, and you have to have fun, and that's literally it. So you basically do a group build. The whole point of all the group builds and the SIGs, people actually do a thing where you start your build, you take a photo of the box, a couple of shots of the sprues, just so people can get an idea of the kit you're working with, and then you just keep a photo diary of your build. We're not expecting to have a breath by breath, you know, literally step-by-step account, but if you just make your way through, the whole point of it is just to tell people about how you put it together, what colours you used, how you go about your weathering and your bits and pieces. So really, people who follow on behind, and they might be on the forum and they type in, I don't know, Phantom build, comes up with your SIG build, and they can follow it and see exactly how you did yours, so they get an idea of how it goes together, any pitfalls you find. So if you find something doesn't fit, chirp up, say about it. And also, usually with the group builds and SIGs, you might find other people are building the same things, so it's a great way of sort of inspiring you to build along and to get all together and all those things as well. And that's literally it. it's nothing to it really. The guys down below both did theirs.
Yep.
Very nice MiG-21 and MiG-29. So yes. On using HGW wet transfers, do you use the setting solution or not? Okay, I'll be honest, I didn't get on with them. They never worked for me. Their raised rivet sets were a nightmare, and I gave up. And their dry well, it's like their wet transfers, but they're more like the old rub and buff type transfers. I get how they work, but I've never made them work perfectly. I've had a go at them a couple of times, but I haven't ever got them work well, you know.
I think Plasma used them on his Focke-Wulf 190 that he put a video up on YouTube a month or two ago. And he took a different approach to them. He put them almost at the end of the paint stage.
Yeah.
To stop them being buried, but he had to go around the houses a fair bit to get them to work. Like spray, put paint, put them on, spray again. It was a very laboured process.
Yeah, I think, again, I tried using their raised rivet sets and couldn't get them to work at all. And when I did it, you sort of rub them on and then you leave them on there, then you peel them off. And I was finding it was just taking bits of decal with it, because you're technically peeling off the carrier film, aren't you? And you're leaving just the painted section down on. And it actually, from my point of view, it didn't look half bad, because I did a weathered 190 as well, because funny enough I used it on the 190 and it was in. But the funny thing is that my one, as you know, I don't put SWAT stickers with you guys on my models. I do it off camera. So when I completed the build, took all the photos, I come back and I put on the SWAT stickers afterwards. And it was one of those ones, because I used it for them and it sort of worked. So that 190 is at the unit. The SWAT stickers, they're all those decals, sort of dry transfer, wet transfer system. And they worked on that, but I couldn't get them to work on the wings. They just came apart, so we ended up spraying them all.
Yeah, so Richard on our chat saying they're a challenge to remove without sort of damaging.
Yeah. I think that's in reply to a previous comment. He said he's just blown a bulb on the wing of his Ju-52.
Oh. Has it blown a hole in the 52? It sounds like a crash diorama.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Blown a hole in it.
Oh, he's putting a lighting set in it by the looks of it.
If you're going to explode an LED...
Yeah, I was going to say, you burn an LED out. I don't know about blowing one. And how did you manage that? You must have had your voltage...
Resistors?
Yeah.
A resistor might be missing.
Yeah, that's a bit... Say, normally, it's very, very difficult to burn out an LED.
We've got a question about blackjacks, if you're ready.
Yeah.
Trevor's building the 72 scale blackjack from Trumpeter. Have you got any tips on building it, and what's the best paint for white?
I've got it down there, the Swan. As I say, I keep looking at it as well, thinking, do you know what?
Mine's up here.
Yeah. So, again, tips, I can't say. It's a big beast. It's huge. So it would be an interesting one to see done, and I think it does look very nice. It's a beautiful looking aircraft. As for painting it, again, I would probably do my usual trick. I know John's got it his way, but I tend to use Tamiya XF2 self-leveling thinners. That'll give you a nice satin finish, and to be honest, probably do something like we did on this. So just a drop of something like either buff or deck tan XF55s in this, so it's one brush full per pot, literally, of that topped up to the top with self-leveling thinners, and then put this on, so you get a nice, it's beautifully smooth. There's no texture to this whatsoever, but it gives a sort of flat satin look, and then it's an off-white, which gives you more of a scale effect, because the thing is, if you sprayed it just white, I think it looked like a brick, you know, looked like a toy.
Yeah,
it's a big aircraft.
To be honest, with the size of the bloody thing, I'd be tempted to get a can of the Tamiya Fine Surface Primer, the white one.
Yeah,
and use that for a base, and then, like you say, use various off colours of white just to liven it up.
Yeah, I'd be one of those ones. I think by the time you've given it a wash and perhaps a little bit of either pre-shading or post-shading into it just to break it up a little bit, otherwise it will look like a giant kid's toy. And that's the trouble when you're into the big stuff like that. It's very difficult, so just try and break it up a little bit. But
because whatever you use, you're going to get through a lot of white for that thing, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, it's one of those. I'd like to do it. I think it'd look absolutely fantastic done. It'd be make a nice wall hanger.
Yeah. Problem is, you never see them with their wings swept, even when they're on the ground.
No. Perhaps they fall over.
Be one of those like.
So they're on the ground, they fall over. But you get some nice options of that because you can do it with the control surfaces all up and everything as well. So it's not quite just boring shape. It's got quite a nice shape to it because you've actually got the flaps that are posable on that one.
John's got a question about.
Yeah, go on.
Filler. He said, would you recommend using the styrene filler or sprue goo instead of plastic putty or Tamiya putty?
Again, we spoke about this. It depends on where you're using it. If it's a quick little job, like it's a little sink mark or something you're going to be rescribing, then or sort of structural, then definitely I'd use like sprue glue type thing. You know, purely because it's easy to sand. It'll be totally, you know, seamless. You can scribe, re-rivet over it, no problem at all. But it's going to take a little bit longer to dry. Okay, or as you say, you can use then perfect plastic putty, like a water-based one. In an area where you're not going to go rescribing or re-riveting with, purely because if you try and scribe over it, you tend to carve it. It doesn't, you know, scribe particularly nicely. It's a bit like using super glue as a filler as well. You can do, but trying to scribe it is a nightmare because you just go along and stop dead, and you've got to try and go through, and it tends to shatter a little bit and stuff. So yeah, definitely one of those ones where depending where you're using it. You know, if you got something, for instance, where lots of surface detail, so if you got something like down in here and you had to do a little bit of work, I would definitely use then a perfect plastic putty because you can clean it up with water. So you can clean it all up to a cotton bud just with a bit of water on it, give it a rub and it'll take it all away. So you won't damage any of this. But obviously sprue glue, once it dries, you can't get it out. So you have to, you know, carve it and do what it is. So they both have their points, you know. For easy cleanup and in tricky areas, especially to clean up, then obviously perfect plastic putty is brilliant. But if I was doing something where I need to just rescribe or re-rivet, then I'd probably use something like sprue glue and use that way. Bit of styrene filler, I think.
I think he's doing the seams on bombs, so I'd be tempted to sprue glue it.
Yeah.
And how big the bomb is, but
yeah.
What I've done sometimes, if you got a bomb or a drop tank or something and it's not a brilliant fit and you look like you're going to have gaps, I actually use the sprue glue as a glue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I put it on one half and then put it together.
Yeah.
Let it dry and then just clean it up
Yeah.
with a sanding stick and polish it and it's fine.
Yeah. And then Brian's asked quite a good question. He's watched your stealth fighter build. You used Vallejo latex style primer and paint to hide the panel lines and finish. What would you use if you were going to do the same build now? You prefer to use lacquers?
Again, obviously that one was done 10 years ago now. That's the thing. It's an older video. So, you know, obviously your style changes and stuff like that. For that one, obviously we're using Tamiya's and, you know, various shades into it. I'd probably be now more inclined to use something like, it's very difficult because actually, you know, XF85, the rubber black would probably be my starting place to go with that one still, and do it that way. Certainly, you know, using the latex primers and going over it to hide the panel lines and stuff. These days you might replace that with something like a Mr. Surfacer, those types of ones, and just airbrushing them on as well. So again, it just, with lacquers now, I think it's a little bit easier to go around, especially for clean up and sanding, to blend in and stuff like that. With lacquers it's more straightforward and easy, if that makes sense. But as I say, back then when I was using the Vallejo latex type primers, which is basically exactly the same as Stynylrez and all of those, that was all that was available. So yeah, nowadays I think I'd probably whip around it more with something more modern and lacquer based, and then just sand it and get rid of it that way. So yes, I would go with a lacquer finish now.
A question for you, Nathan. David says he's got the Squadron Signal books on the 109, and he was looking about the rivet detail. However, in the book, it does not show any riveting detail. Does the 109 have riveting details?
It is riveted. It's flush riveted though. I'm just trying to think if I haven't got an Edard 109 kit to hand, but thing is with the rivets, and the same on the Focke-Wulf 190, even in life size, you have to be like that far away from the aircraft to really see them, because they were flush riveted, primed and painted, so they're really, really subtle. They are there, definitely, because it's a metal construction. That book has probably not got the riveting diagram then, and I'm trying to think where you'd get I might have a suggestion whether you can still get it, but I think it's like, oh gosh, where is it? Just got the F to K one. Sam Publications did 2 volumes on the 109. But has it got the rivet diagram? Yeah, this one's got, you can see the riveting on it. So if you want the accurate riveting diagram, you'll not see these. You can barely see them in the flesh, but Sam Publications just got the riveting. It shows the riveting on the plans. How, if it's accurate, I wouldn't like to
stay there.
Not like to say they're accurate, because they all seem to be just 5mm space.
Yeah.
But, you know, so in 48 scale, there's a rough on the wings. There's a line of rivets every 5mm ish. So yeah, but like I said, when I've had a proper look at them at Cosford, when we've had the table was next to the 190 and the 109, you really had to start going like this, trying to catch the light to see the rivets, because they are flat.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, what is your opinion on Meng model kits? I quite like them. Their armour, specifically, because I've built quite a few of theirs. So yes, Meng, what do you guys reckon?
There.
The only Meng kit I've built is the Messerschmitt 410, and that was a cracking kit.
They're not far off Tamiya, are they?
No, I did Meng's aircraft wise. I did their supposedly glueless Mustang. It's not. Use glue. Be normal modeler, because it's actually a really nice kit. I'm not saying it's the best Mustang, but it's all right out of them all. So that's a nice one. But their armour stuff, I've built loads of Meng, and I quite like it. It goes together really, really well. Can you use Mr. Hobby thinners with AK real colours? Yes, you can. Yeah. I want the Meng F106. Has anyone built the kit? And what are your thoughts? I haven't built that kit, but I know people who have. Seem to go all right. That's their 72nd scale kits. But yeah, as far as I know, like John's built a couple of theirs, and I've built some of their 48 scale stuff, and it seems to be all right. And to say their armour, I quite like them. I have no problem with them at all. I've been looking everywhere for general aviation aircraft to build. I'm looking for a Cessna 152, but can't find anything out on the market. Do you guys know of any? Wasn't it Academy, or was it Minicraft used to do civil stuff?
And back to scale mates every time with this sort of stuff. There are a couple out there.
I thought Minicraft used to do some general aviation type stuff, and I thought Academy did back in the day. Didn't they do a Cessna? And so yeah, something like that.
It's a, oh, do you know what?
A Piper Cherokee, and I think that was Minicraft did the Piper Cherokee and the Warrior and that. So
Cessna 152.
Yeah.
Humbrol Hella.
Oh, there you go. Classic kits.
Yeah. When scale makes only comes up with 9 results.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's a worry, isn't it? With only 9 results on scale makes.
Yes. Can you use acrylic enamel paint to create a wash? If so, how do you go about it? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Just thin it. So, you know, like a wash is always the same as with any other type of wash you make. So you're just going to thin it with the thinners that goes along with it. Just remember, though, if you're going to be overcoating, for instance, if you're using enamels to make a wash with enamels, you know, you're okay over acrylics and stuff. But if you're using lacquer paints, it's going to eat through everything you go through when you try and brush it on. So either capillary action of touch and let the wash do all its stuff. But just be mindful to have blocking coats down. So put an acrylic layer down, perhaps, to protect your, you know, your paintwork underneath. So
and the thing to bear in mind as well, if you're using an acrylic for a wash, once it's down and it's dried,
it's staying
put. There.
Yeah. The thing is, if you're using
enamels, you can reactivate it with white spirits.
Yeah.
But an acrylic wash, once it's dried, it's dried.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even enamel washes can stain.
Yeah.
And be an absolute. And if you put too much white spirits on, even that will start to eat into paintwork a bit, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a certain manufacturer of clay-based washes.
Clay-based washes, that's what you need. Absolutely. Yeah. Clay-based washes are nothing better. And be careful for manufacturers who claim to make clay-based washes and they're not clay-based, just saying. So yes, what is the name of the very strong setting solution you used? I keep missing its name. It's called Agama Hypersol. So it's Agama and it's Hypersol. That's the stuff. Careful, it's like alien blood. It literally will melt decals and paint and anything else, so just be careful with that. I can't read that because it's in something else. Oh, see, I don't understand it, but it's interesting. Greetings from Moscow. Get ya. What's the Mr. Hobby base white? Picture was blurred. What's it called, John?
Mr. Finishing Surfacer 1500 white.
There we go. What is your opinion on? Oh yeah, we just done that one. Oh, apparently AZ are doing a 150, 152 and a 172 Cessnas. Okie doke. Wash needs to have a medium to break the surface tension of the paint. Well, it depends. If you've got thinners in it, that'll do. That'll break the surface tension. I have a Revel Tornado Tiger Meat 2018 and would like to use a different colour scheme and need help with what type of tornado I can use the appropriate colours and decals. Well, that's a bit of an open-ended question. Which one are you planning on doing?
Right, so it's an IDS.
Right.
Out of the box without getting any extra bits, you're limited to German or Italian,
right? Because
it's missing it's missing the laser pod for the RAF one. Although having said that, you could do a super early RAF tornado because the very first few came into service without any laser pods underneath. Decal companies for 72 tornadoes from Germany and Italy, it's a bit of a struggle, to be honest. There's not so many choices. Extra decal are good for RAF ones. A company called Harhen do German decals, so you could perhaps do a German IDS. I know they do like they've got the German tornadoes that are in Afghanistan. You could get the decals for that from Harhen. That's Hahen. They do lots and lots of German options. Because if I imagine by asking, you're not wanting to do a special scheme. You're perhaps looking like a line machine. Italian ones, there's a couple of companies out there, but I can't think of the names off the top of my head. What's a real good source for decals is an Italeri kit. Sometimes it's cheaper to buy an Italeri kit with lots of decal options in it than it is to get a decal.
Thing is, that's the thing with the Italeri, isn't it? They always come with great decal options, and you usually get 4 or 5 different options in the kit.
Certainly. So I mean, this Tornado that I'm building in 48 has got Italeri decals on it, or it's starting to have Italeri decals.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, if you're going to pay a tenner for a decal sheet, go to the used market, you can get an Italeri Tornado for a tenner.
Yeah.
But if you want an RAF one, you're missing a few bits, unfortunately.
Right, okay, so we've got down in here, can you do a review of the new 72nd AZ Models Hawk Mohawk family? Yes, probably can actually. We tend to stock those, so when they come in to the store, I'll grab one and we'll do that. Apparently, you can get a 48 scale Beach Bonanza, a Beaver, a Piper. Italeri do a 172. They do it the Skyhawk, so I suppose you could just do it as a civil version. Apparently, you can get the old monogram Cessna 180, and there's a few others, and the Tri-Pacer back in the day. But you still find them.
Sounds like Scale Mates is going to be a bit of research.
Have a research down in there and see what you can find online. Revel does a 172nd Twin Otter. Is it any good? Again, that's not theirs, is it? Who does the Twin
Matchbox?
Is it going to say? Is that the old Matchbox kit, isn't it? Which we have seen, because there's a couple of people building them on the site at the moment, because we're doing the Matchbox thing. So, yes, I have a feeling that's the Matchbox kit. Yeah, apparently saying Airfix. Didn't Airfix do it as well?
The Bird Dog thing.
We're on about the DH6 now. The DHC.
Outside my area of expertise.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not sure about that one. How about someone making a decent 172nd Lockheed Super Constellation? Super Connie, absolutely, yeah. Because say Hella do a few versions of it. But yeah, it'd be nice to see a decent one of those. I have the Fine Molds X-Wing in the stash. Do you know if their plastic works the same way as Bandai? It's not. Theirs is just a Revel kit. It's the old Fine Molds kit, which is standard styrene, not Bandai's. So you'd be safe to do what you like with that one, because that's normal styrene. It's not the Bandai's type of styrene. And the guys are just talking down in here. Very good. Oh, still Matchbox kit. Yes. There you go. So yeah, it's a Matchbox kit. Cool. Very good. And there we go. Have we got any more questions in our chat? If not, we'll call it there. Because the dogs are circling like hounds.
I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, very good. Don't spill your kicker, Phil. Eat styrene as well. Hey, what? I haven't got kicker on the go. I'm alright, I'm clear. Right, there we go, guys. We'll call it today. Thank you very much for joining us as always. So don't forget, you go off and you can see the review of this lovely kit. John's kit. We're expecting big things for him to build that one day. No plans to build it anytime soon, John?
Not at the moment, no.
No, he's going to be building his A50, isn't he? So he's going to have to do that one. So yes, obviously that one there. Tomorrow you're going to have the fantastic review we'll be talking about first part of the show of the lovely Mach 2 VC10. So that review will be up tomorrow, and then I'll get the other one up because this one will be up with you on Thursday, which will be the Sword Meteor as well, and then I've got a Range Rover down there as well for on Friday, and then hopefully we've got some other stuff coming in. So I'm going to be cracking on getting the pods done and painted for this little guy, so hopefully by tomorrow it might be starting to come together and we get going with the weathering and the painting. And then as soon as those first bits get in, because I've got some photo etch coming in which I need to get cracking with the B17, we're going to be starting on the 1/48 scale HK models B17G as well. So lots still to come. Thank you very much for joining us today, guys. Thank you very much to the boys down below as well. We will see you all again very soon. So until later, say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.